2. Welcome! ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Tuesday, the 9th of January. Good to have you aboard, part of the Believe Podcast Network, and presented as always by Anidjar and Levine, Accident Attorneys, 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. We got a lot going on. I'm in a pretty good mood today. Our favorite little basketball team, the Miami Heat. They won last night. They get back to 6 games over 500 at 20-14. Good win against a Rockets team that's pretty good, but terrible on the road. So the Heat did exactly what they're supposed to do. We got the national championship from last night. And hey, the NFL playoffs, they're here, man. This weekend, right around the corner. NBA's in full swing. You got the National Hockey League. Bet Online has you covered with all the up-to-the-minute stats, news, odds, additional odds, lines, and trends, and info on both desktop and mobile versions. You can access the world's best wagering information anytime. Head to Bet Online today. Get into the action. See all the updated odds. Remember to use promo code BELIEVE, B-L-E-A-V, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. So it's Tuesday, which means we got Twitter Jam. No spoilers, but Twitter Jam's probably going to be on the Dolphins. Okay, very good. We got the Panthers back in action tonight. They're at St. Louis. They're looking to sweep this road trip, looking for an 8th consecutive win. So a very hot Panther team tonight. That's going to grab your attention. Personal stuff, which I mentioned yesterday. You're going to be, we got good stuff for ZASLOW Show 2.0. And also, you're going to be hearing me a lot more on ESPN Radio. Nationally, I'm going to be doing a lot more shows with them, which is great news as well. So appreciate everybody who has supported me in both avenues. Locally, ZASLOW Show 2.0. And of course, nationally, hearing me on ESPN Radio. So, we got Twitter Jam coming up today. You know how we do. We got some NBA news. We're going to start out, though, with the national championship from last night. So, I'm watching the Heat game on the big TV. I got the national championship on the small TV. By the way, shout out to the national championship. You know, it said, you know how it says, okay, 7:30, ESPN 7:30, national championship, Michigan, Washington. And I'm like, you know, I said to my son, it was like a little before 7, I said, hey, what time's the national championship starts? He's at the point, by the way, his teenager is 15 this month. He's at the point, he knows so much more than I do about all sports. No, just has all the information. He is so much more aware of what's going on than I am. And so it's a little before 7. Say, hey, what time's the national championship tonight? He goes, 7:30. I go, oh, okay, so more like 8 o'clock. Like that's when the game's going to be. Because ESPN is clearly doing the trick where game's at 7:30, but no. That's the pregame show. Game's not till 8, which really means like 8:20. Shout out to the national championship for fooling me. I looked, the game starts, I looked at my phone. It wasn't even 8 o'clock yet. At 7:59, the game was in the middle of the first quarter. Oh, hashtag blessed. Middle of the first quarter. It's not even 8 o'clock. Come on, that's what I'm talking about there. That's beautiful. Don't give me this bullshit about, oh, West Coast games are going to start at 4:30. It's the national championship. People are going to watch wherever they are, whatever time it is. And they were in Houston, which is an hour behind, I believe. So that's a 6:30 local start. No problem. Everyone's going to get there. Hashtag blessed. So the game ended at a very reasonable time. Game was over before 10 o'clock. Before 11 o'clock, excuse me. That's beautiful. I mean, think about this. How many BCS, because we're going back in time a few years, how many BCS national championship games did you fall asleep before the ending? Game ends at like 12:30. God bless last night, the start time of that game. So, look, Michigan, I always liked Michigan. I've always liked them since I was a kid. Glenn Rice, my all-time favorite player. I mean, my hero growing up. So ever since Glenn Rice and Michigan winning the 1988 national championship, Glenn Rice, my all-time favorite player. And which was so cool that the Heat would then draft him. Because, like, I knew who he was. I was 7 years old. I knew who he was because Michigan just won the national championship. And then the Heat draft is like, oh, man, this guy's my favorite now. It was great. So I always liked Michigan. Fab Five. I was a huge Chris Webber fan. Webber, Juwan Howard, Ray Jackson, Jimmy King, Jalen Rose. Huge Michigan Fab Five fan, Steve Fisher. And so I've always liked Michigan. And now as far as Michigan football goes, I've always dug Michigan football too, but they haven't been shit. You know, they won. It was Schembechler in 97. Then it's Lloyd Carr. Then you have Rich Rodriguez. You got Brady Hoke. And eventually you make your way to Harbaugh. And so Harbaugh, though, the first handful of years, couldn't beat Ohio State. I mean, was never able to beat Urban Meyer. And did not have any big, just couldn't win the big games. And I felt Harbaugh was super overrated at that point. You know, obviously he didn't win at Stanford. It's Stanford. But then he gets to San Francisco. They were great. Couldn't win the Super Bowl. Gets to Michigan. Really good teams. Can't beat Ohio State. I thought he was super overrated. And now finally, the last few years, he's owned Ryan Day and Ohio State. And Michigan's the big bad now. So I haven't really cared so much about Michigan football. But now that they've been in the spotlight again the last years, I always like Michigan. I always root for Michigan. So I'm really happy they won last night. I saw most of the experts were picking Washington. You know, I'm not this college football aficionado. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know all the ins and outs of college football. I do not. But Washington, it seemed like the media really thought Washington was going to win that game last night. And look, final score 34-13. Game was pretty close. Michigan's up 17-3. Then it's 20-13. Michigan, they get the ball back. They get a big score. They drive down the field. They punch it in 27-13. We're in the middle of the fourth quarter. But even at that point, Washington's driving down the field. If they score and they get a stop, then we got something. You got a big 32-yard gain, and it gets called back with a hold. Phantom hold. Changed the game. Michigan ends up getting a turnover. They take it all the way back. Then they punch it in. 34-13. Boom, that's your ball game. Harbaugh, he's the national champion head coach. How about that Harbaugh family? By the way, that Jack Harbaugh, the father, I mean, it's like Avengers Endgame where Steve Rogers, Captain America, it's an older version of him that shows up. That's what Jack Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh look like. Jack Harbaugh looks like Jim Harbaugh 30 years from now. What a coaching family. Between the father, the two brothers now, who have a Super Bowl win and a national championship win. I'm happy that Michigan won. I also think Harbaugh stays. You know, does Harbaugh want to win a Super Bowl? Probably. And we'll get to more of that coming up with big deal, not a big deal. But you go to the NFL, and it's a completely different ballgame. But from this perspective where he is now forever a god at Michigan, a god. He owns Ann Arbor. He's always going to get everything he wants at that school. And then you go to, I don't know, it could be the Raiders, whatever, but just for instance, now Mark Davis is your boss. Like, there's always going to be an owner at whatever NFL team you decide to go to. And it's never going to be as good. Do you want the challenge of winning a Super Bowl? Yeah, maybe he does. But it's never going to be as good as it is right now. So I know there's a lot. I think most people feel Harbaugh's going to leave. I don't think he's stupid. I think he knows I got a great thing here. And there's no going back, by the way. Like, the first time that he leaves the NFL for Michigan, he says to himself, all right, I can always go back to the NFL. But this time around, like, he's never going to coach another college team that's not Michigan. He's a Michigan man. This time around, you can't say, all right, I could always go back to Michigan if it doesn't work out in the NFL. No, that's over with. If you give this up, this lifestyle, you're never the head coach at Michigan again. You could always go back and be head coach in the NFL. Probably one of the reasons he decided it was time to go give it a try at Michigan. But it's all worked out so great. He's a national champion and owns Ann Arbor. can never go back. I don't think he leaves. So, and by the way, so enjoyed the game for the most part. And I will tell you this. We know that it's a storyline today about Michigan and the cheating and the sign stealing and all that. If I'm Michigan, holy shit, do I not care. I'm a Michigan alum, fan, whatever, and somebody comes up to me and says, yeah, but this championship is tainted because of the sign stealing and the cheating. You know what I do? I laugh in their face so hard. I couldn't care less if somebody tells me that championship is tainted. Doesn't take away how I felt last night. Doesn't take away how I felt throughout the season. Doesn't take away how I feel right now if I'm a Michigan person and winning the national championship. Let other people say it's tainted. Couldn't care less. Hey, do you think a single New England Patriot fan cares when you tell them about all the times that you cheated, that the championship, the Super Bowl is tainted? You think any Patriot fan cares? You think they do anything other than laugh in your face? And for instance, with the Miami Heat when they won in 2006 and Bennett Salvatore makes all the calls for Dwayne Wade, gets the free throw line 100 times, Mark Cuban, biggest fucking crybaby, and a championship. You wouldn't have won if not for all those fouls. Oh, the game was fixed for you. You know how hard I laugh in your face? I mean, I couldn't care less. So, you want to say that it's tainted? It doesn't mean as much? You can feel that way, but if I'm a Michigan person, my God, do I not care. So, there's some for you on the national championship. Now, let's get to Dolphins. So, the game's this Saturday night on Peacock, and I'm going to get to that in a moment here. All right. In general, as far as the game, well, actually, you know what? Let's get into that right now. So, the game's on Peacock, and it's caused a bit of a stir. We've been heading, it shouldn't surprise anyone that the game's on Peacock, that the game's on a streaming service. We've been heading in this direction. I mean, you've had games on Amazon Prime the last couple years. We were always going to get to a place where there was then going to be a playoff game on a streaming service because the NFL, they don't give a fuck. The NFL is all about making money, and they know you're going to fork over the money, and they're the big bad, and even if you don't fork over the money, it doesn't matter to them. They're going to do whatever they want to make more money. They're the greediest pigs out there because they can. So this is not a surprise. The part, though, that I don't understand, all the bitching and moaning, and it's either coming from, I'm hearing it from Dolphin fans, but here's the thing. The game is still on locally. I mentioned this yesterday. There's a lot of Dolphin fans, maybe you know by now, I don't know, but there's a lot of Dolphin fans who don't think the game is on locally. The game is on locally, like always. Always. If you're a Dolphin fan here in South Florida, the game is on NBC6 Saturday nights. Now, it's also on Peacock, and if you are out of town, then the only way to watch it is on Peacock. But locally, the Dolphins are always available. So you're good. If you're not local, you have two options. You can go to the bar right across the street. They're going to have Peacock. They're going to be showing the game. It's the only playoff game on. They're going to be showing it. Believe that. Your second option is go to Peacock right now. Get a 1-month subscription for $5.99. And my point is, and I don't want to sound callous. I don't want to sound like, I'm not counting your money for you. But you're such a huge sports fan. You're such a huge Dolphins fan. You don't have $5.99 to watch a Dolphin playoff game? And if you don't have $5.99 to watch a Dolphin playoff game, that's okay. But I would say your anger at not being able to see the Dolphins is not even remotely what you should be focused on. And I'm not saying that to sound callous. What I mean is, if your finances are so tight that you can't spend the $5.99, that's okay. And getting mad about a Dolphins game really doesn't seem like a big thing in the big picture. There are other things going on. It's not that big a deal. If you can't afford the $6 to watch the Dolphins game, it's really not that big a deal. It's not something to get so worked up about because clearly there are more important things in all of our life. But it's $5.99. It's half the price of a movie. It's the price of your coffee at Starbucks. And if you want to talk about going to NFL games, it's like 1/100th of the price of taking your family to the game. Is $5.99 worth all the bitching about having to get Peacock to watch the Dolphin game? And by the way, the Dolphin game does not cost $5.99. The Dolphin game, the playoff game, is on a channel that costs $5.99. The channel is $5.99, not the game. The channel is $5.99. Just like if you're watching the Miami Heat in the playoffs, or you're watching the Florida Panthers in the playoffs, those games are on ESPN and TNT. Those channels aren't free. You have to pay for ESPN. You're not paying for the Heat on ESPN. You're paying for ESPN, and that's the channel that the Heat game is on. The Panthers are on TNT in the playoffs. You're not paying for the Panther playoff game. The game's on TNT. You're paying for TNT. You pay for cable, right? Cable's not free. You're paying to have those games available. You're not paying for the game. You're paying for the channel. And if you don't have cable, you're paying for ESPN Plus. However much that is a month, $8.99, whatever it is, so that you can watch the NBA playoffs, so that you can watch the Stanley Cup playoffs. You're paying for ESPN Plus because that's where the game's being broadcast. The Dolphin playoff game this weekend is being broadcast on Peacock. You're going to pay for Peacock if you don't already have it so that you can watch the channel that has the game. Matter of fact, for all the bitching and moaning about the NFL, and I'm not trying to defend the NFL. They're greedy pigs. We all know that. But I just think the complaining about the Dolphin game being on Peacock is a little out of whack because the NFL, the Miami Dolphins, our local team, the NFL is the only one of our major North American sports that you don't have to pay to watch your local team. Every Dolphin regular season game is on CBS or Fox. That's an over-the-air broadcast network, broadcast television channel. If you have a television set with an antenna, you get the Dolphin games. You do not have to pay for them. If you want to watch the Heat, if you want to watch the Panthers, if you want to watch the Marlins, all those games are on regional sports networks. Those are not free. You're paying for all of them, either through cable or to order the channel standalone, the Bally app. The Dolphins and the NFL are the only team you watch the regular season games for free. You're paying for Heat regular season. You're paying for Panther regular season. You're paying for Marlin regular season. You're paying for the playoff games for all of those. The NFL, now, we're mad, or you're mad. I'm not mad, but you're mad because we've gotten this shit for free our whole life. And now, for the first time ever, the Dolphin fan, not locally, has gotten the unlucky draw of being the one out of the 6 games in Super Wildcard Weekend that is on a service you have to pay for. Every other game's either on CBS, Fox, or NBC. This one is on Peacock, and you got to pay for that channel because it's not on over-the-air broadcast television. But the Dolphins and the NFL are the only regular season you don't pay for. See, I think I have a little bit of perspective. You're paying for the Heat. You're paying for the Panthers. You're paying for the Marlins. The Dolphins are the only one you don't pay for. So anyway, I don't get all the bitching and moaning about it. I do have a little bit of a problem this Saturday night, and it doesn't have to do with how I'm watching the Dolphin or what channel I'm watching the Dolphin game on. So, my wife told me like weeks ago, we're going out with a friend of hers, a coworker, several co-workers, couples. I don't know how many of us it is. I don't even know where we're going. But I obviously agreed to it because whatever, like it's fine. I like going out with my wife, and I'm okay going out with other people as long as they don't think I'm definitely not there to entertain anybody. People are excited. Oh, nice! I can't wait to meet your husband. It's such a letdown. I'm so boring. I am not a party when we go out. I'm pretty chill. It's a huge letdown for all of these people when they go out with me. But I'm down to go out, whatever. It's this Saturday night we're going out. And then the Dolphin schedule comes out, and the game's at 8 p.m. on Saturday night. Now, I don't know what time dinner is. Dinner might be at 6, and then that will line up okay. But if dinner's at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, what am I doing in that spot? I mean, the Dolphins haven't won a playoff game in 23 years. They've only been to the playoffs 3 times in the last 20 years. I have to watch the game. So I got 2 options. And my wife's not going to like either one of them. And we started to have this conversation last night, and she's not happy. My 2 options are, 1, I don't go. I tell her I'm out. And that'll be embarrassing for her because everyone else is there with couples, and she's going to be stag. That sucks for her. Or, like I told last night, I can go and I'm just going to watch the whole game on my phone while we're sitting there. Are you going to be angry with that? And she said yes. I'm like, well, all right. Well, what do you want me to do? And, so then I get the whole, well, you can just record the game. Okay, first of all, there's no way recording the Dolphin playoff game that somehow I'm not going to find out what happened while I'm there. Because I'm certainly not going back and watching a game knowing the outcome. That's for sure. And the second part is, it's the playoffs. I'm not recording a playoff game. You don't do that. So I could either not go, or I could sit there and I'm being rude to everybody, Although, wouldn't the other husbands understand? But I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to hope the dinner's at 6. And then maybe I have to watch a little bit of the first quarter on my phone. I don't know that I particularly, I would really like to watch the game at home. But I'm not sure if it's worth the hassle of making my wife upset to not go. I think I'm just going to go and watch what I hope is only the first quarter on my phone. I mean, how bad could it be? I'm going to have the game right in front of me on my phone. That's it. It's it's not like if it were a Stanley Cup Finals game, I tell my wife immediately, yeah, I'm out. If it's a Heat NBA Finals game, I'm out. Dolphin playoff game, I feel like the game moves slow enough that I feel like I could pay good enough attention watching on my phone. Hopefully just the first quarter at the restaurant. I mean, it's a major difference. You go back to 15, 20 years ago, I tell her immediately, I'm out, not going with you. At this point in my life, I could probably get away with just watching it on my phone. Not the whole game. I'm hoping it's the first quarter. If dinner's at 8 p.m., then I have to reassess the situation. But if dinner's at 6, 6:30, I think I'm probably going to go and just watch the game on my phone. Anyway, not an ideal scenario. I'll tell you, though, what is an ideal scenario. And that's if I'm watching the game at home, I'm going to have a Johnny Cuba in my hand. That's right. Johnny Cuba, official beer of ZASLOW Show 2.0. The most delicioso beer you've ever had in your life. Go pick up a 6-pack of Johnny Cuba. Your local Sedanos, Presidente, Winn-Dixie, Fresco y Mas. I've been telling you about Johnny Cuba for a while now. It's European roots of the Caribbean soul. Perfect for us here in South Florida. Refreshing German lager in a can. That's how you'll enjoy the Dolphin game this Saturday night. Make sure you always drink responsibly. And of course, don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. So, I have zero confidence in the Dolphins this weekend. Well, I should say that. I think they could win this weekend. I don't think they're going to. We found out yesterday, Jerome Baker, after returning, he's done for the year. Andrew Van Ginkel, also out, likely done for the year. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen injuries hit a good team the way that they have this Dolphin team. Think about all the major pieces they have out now. Xavier Howard, don't know what his status is this weekend. Van Ginkel, done. Chubb, done. Baker, done. Phillips, done. Just annihilated, just decimated defensively. I have zero confidence in this team right now. And what I mean by that is, I don't care about winning a playoff game. I want to win the Super Bowl. That's been the goal for most of the season, is to get to the Super Bowl. And does this team have a chance to win a playoff game? Yes. Does this team have a chance to win a Super Bowl? No. Absolutely not. And so for me, and that's because of all the injuries. So for me, we're going into this playoffs, instead of having a ton of hope and a ton of excitement, this team is dead man walking. And that's the most disappointing part. I'm not trying to win a playoff game. I'm trying to win the Super Bowl. And because of all these injuries, it's been taken away. They have no chance. Do they have a chance this weekend against Kansas City? Yes. Do they have a chance to get to the Super Bowl? Not even close. Not even close. And I want to address all the Tua hate that's going on right now. As far as all the Tua hate goes, this is what comes with being a top quarterback. I'm a big Tua fan, but you have to be fair. Sports talk show hosts love being right. Some of them will dig their feet in so hard because they'd rather be right than, let's say, their team do well. Like for me, I hate Kyle Lowry, but I would like him to play well because I want my team to win. I don't think he's going to play well, but I would like to be wrong about that. I'm a big Tua guy. I think the Dolphins can win with Tua. But I'm okay admitting that this last few games of the season, and certainly Tua's performance on Sunday night, is a massive disappointment. And it's okay to be critical of him. This is what comes with being a top quarterback. This kind of criticism. This kind of expectation. And a fan base that is reacting to losing a very meaningful game. This is what you get directed at your franchise quarterback. And this is okay. Hell, the Los Angeles Lakers, there was a time, and I'm not trying to compare Tua to Magic Johnson, but there was a time, even after Magic had already won an NBA Finals and was Finals MVP his rookie year, there was a time where he was referred to as Tragic Magic because he couldn't win the big game, because they lost in the finals to the Celtics. He was Tragic Magic Johnson. It's okay to be critical of your star player. It's okay to be angry with his performance. And it's certainly okay to say he needs to be better. That's not good enough. And I'm a Tua guy, and I'm going to sit here and tell you, again, that performance Sunday night, not good enough. Not good enough. This is what comes with being a top quarterback. If you're a fan, you'll have people telling you, this is not fair, it's not fair criticism of Tua, not everything's his fault. We know everything's not his fault. You're allowed to be critical of Tua. You're allowed to point out when you're the number 5 overall pick in the draft, when you're selected to be a franchise quarterback, when you lead the league in passing yards, when you have the season you had, when you're a great offense, and when you're in your 4th year in the league, it's okay to be critical of the quarterback who doesn't come up big in that spot on Sunday night. It was the biggest game of his life. He's never even played a playoff game yet in his career. He's going to make his playoff debut this Saturday night. He's never won a playoff game. He has been selected to be a franchise quarterback, number 5 overall pick in the draft. He needs to win that game. He needs to make those plays. And if he doesn't, it's more than okay to be critical. Doesn't mean you hate Tua. Doesn't mean you don't think he could win. It's more than okay to be critical of him. All the talk about getting rid of him, that's stupid. They're not getting rid of him. They're going to pay him a lot of money this offseason because he proved what he's capable of. He just needs to go out there and do it. But the criticism right now, completely earned, and justified for the fan base to feel that he came up short. You gotta be fair. That's not being a hater. That's being fair. Tua was literally drafted to win that game and to complete those fourth quarter drives. He didn't do it, which means he didn't do his job. The end. Be mad. It's the appropriate reaction if you're a Dolphin fan. Now, there's this idea out there that Mike McDaniel, I saw Chris Perkins, great dude, Sun Sentinel, covers the Dolphins, saw Chris Perkins. The headline was that if the Dolphins lose on Saturday night, Mike McDaniel should be on the hot seat. Mike McDaniel will be on the hot seat. Bullshit. No chance. Mike McDaniel got here and has put together the best back-to-back seasons this team has had this century. He has made Tua into more than a competent quarterback, a league-leading quarterback. Best offense in the league for most of the year. And if they don't win on the road in 0-degree weather at the defending Super Bowl champions against the greatest quarterback in the league right now in Patrick Mahomes, then Mike McDaniel is on the hot seat? Ridiculous. No chance. That's nonsensical. You want to talk about the criticism at Tua, whether it's fair, whether it's not fair? It is fair. You can be critical of Mike McDaniel too. Talking about getting rid of Tua? Nonsensical. Talking about Mike McDaniel being on the hot seat? Nonsensical. You got to be fair.